Let us see and understand the anti-dam movements in Arunachal Pradesh through the following timeline of dam resistance events. Hydropower boom begins in Arunachal Pradesh in 2004 to 2007. As many as over 150 hydropower projects were proposed and MOUs were signed with private and public sector players in such a short period. This created a panic situation for indigenous people of Arunachal Pradesh. Issues were raised due to lack of public consultation, rushed environmental clearances, and bypassing of tribal rights. In fact, many civil society groups including tribal youth forums like Adi Students Union ADISU raised their concerns on this rushed developmental proposals. In 2009, Siang Valley resistance emerges against dam proposal on Siang River, which is Brahmaputra's upper stream in India, and lower stream Yarlung Sangpos in China. Communities from Adi tribes stood against this proposal. What were their concerns? Their concern was of river diversion plans because such diversion could be a threat to their fisheries and flood cycles, and this could lead to displacement of their villages. The Siang Indigenous Farmers Forum (SIF) and local communities resisted this proposal and campaigned for cancellation of large projects like the Siang Upper and Siang Middle dams in Arunachal Pradesh. In 2010-2013, Dibang Valley protested opposing the Dibang Multipurpose Project, 2,880 megawatts, and Edalin Hydropower Project, 3,097 megawatts. The local Idu Mishmi tribe was at the forefront resisting these proposals. Their main issues were submergence of sacred groves which they revered for centuries, threat to biodiversity, especially the Mishmi Takin, and a manipulated environment impact assessment process that was undertaken here. Environment Support Group, ESG, and many local NGOs supported this protest and filed objections with the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Union of India, and they raised a campaign slogan, "No dams without our voice." In 2015-2016, Tawang anti-dam movement started opposing against Tawang 1 and 2, 1,400 megawatts combined, projects. This protest was led by Savemon Region Federation, SMRF. This was a peaceful monk-led movement. In April-May 2016, protesters including a monk, were killed in police firing during a peaceful rally in Tawang. And Lobsang Gyatso, a monk activist and secretary of SMRF, was repeatedly jailed and threatened for mobilizing against dams. In 2017-2020, there was a growing national attention. The media covered these anti-dam resistance movement and many reputed environmental NGOs like Kalpavriksh, A-Tree and South Asia Network on Dams, Rivers and People. Sandrapi released critical reports on these projects. As a result, Dibang project faced repeated rejections of forest clearance due to biodiversity and tribal displacement issues. In 2021-2023, Edalin project controversy stirred. Over 21,000 citizens signed petitions to stop Edalin, calling it an ecological disaster. Eventually, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change Expert Appraisal Committee, EAC, flagged problems in the Environment Impact Assessment Report on this project. And as of 2023, the government has put Edalin on hold, citing ecological and procedural lapses. The above timelines tell us about the grim situations and the realities of dam developments in Arunachal Pradesh. In Arunachal Pradesh, rivers aren't just water, they're identity, culture, and survival. But today, they are being stolen, sold off behind closed doors, drowned under concrete, and defended with bullets. Over 150 hydropower projects signed without public consent, no tribal consultation, and no environmental transparency. Communities argue that this was a clear case of loot in the name of development. In fact, these were unilateral developmental proposals pushed down the throats of indigenous communities. These unilateral signals were received from Delhi without concerning for local communities, local situations. Local communities feel this was akin to death sentence for thousands of indigenous lives. Forest Rights Act was ignored, consents were forged, and dissents crushed. From Siang to Dibang and to Tawang, Arunachal's indigenous people are being pushed off their land, their forests cleared, their rivers choked, and their gods desecrated. All so that a few corporations can profit and a few politicians can claim progress. The local communities were told that this is for national interest. But they never asked the nation living here, sadly. The communities resisted against this betrayal by their own governments. In 2016, when Monpa monks protested peacefully, for their land, their monastery and their rights to be heard, the state responded with bullets and killed the innocent protesting monks. Their blood still stains the street of Tawang. This development at gunpoint is not and cannot be progress, it's a sheer tyranny. Ecological crime scene was witnessed in Edalin project. Communities argued that it was not a developmental project scene, it was a crime scene sadly. Over 2.8 lakh trees were proposed to be destroyed in one of India's most pristine rainforests. This was proposed to be sacrificed for a dam nobody asked for, asked the communities living there. Further, this proposal was pushed through using outdated, manipulated reports, and when scientists, citizens, and tribal youth resisted, they were labeled anti-nationals. Because in this version of development, profit matters more than people, forests are expendable, and silence is enforced. This isn't a local issue. This is a nationwide assault on indigenous voices. From Arunachal to Chhattisgarh to Yarkand. Laws like PISA and FRA exist, but in practice, they're trampled by corporate greed and government apathy. Tribal rights are constitutional and their suppression is criminal, but the concerns of tribals have been ignored repeatedly. It's time to choose sides. This is not just about dams. This must be about democracy, about whether the state exists to protect its people, or to sell their future for short-term power. You can't drown a culture and call it development. You can't shoot protesters and call it peace. Arunachal's people are at the forefront fighting for their villages, their ancestral lands, their revered forests, and for their own survivals. And it's time the government must realize that development and concerns of indigenous must be balanced. Developmental projects must be for the welfare of its people.